Captain Vess felt her crystalline heart pulse faster as the sensors screamed warnings across the bridge. The trading ship, Gentle Spiral, had been making a routine delivery run between the colonies when everything went wrong. Now, three massive shapes appeared on the screen, blocking their path through the asteroid field. Krath warships, her pilot whispered, his transparent skin turning pale blue with fear. Three battlecruisers. We need to run. But it was already too late. The Krath had planned this perfectly. A blast of energy hit the Gentle Spiral from behind, killing the engines instantly. The ship lurched forward, crashing into a large asteroid. Vess grabbed her chair as the lights flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in dim red light. Life support failing, her engineer reported. Hull breach in sections 4 and 5. We have maybe 6 hours of air left, possibly less. Vess looked at her crew of 6. They were all Velans like her, peaceful traders who had never seen combat. Their species had evolved on a gentle world with warm temperatures and soft breezes. They were fragile compared to most species in the galaxy. And now they were trapped, with Krath battlecruisers hunting them through the debris field. The Krath were hunters. Their insect-like bodies were covered in thick armor plating. They enjoyed killing weaker species, especially when there were no witnesses. Out here in neutral space, weeks away from any Galactic Council patrol, no one would ever know what happened to the Gentle Spiral. Send a distress signal, Vess ordered. All channels, maximum power. Her communications officer worked quietly for a moment, then stopped. Captain, the nearest council ship is 17 days away. We don't have 17 hours. Vess closed her eyes. Her crew trusted her to find a solution, but there was none. They were going to die out here and no one would even know. The Krath would destroy their ship completely, leaving no evidence. Then she remembered something. A rumor she had heard at the last trading station. A whispered conversation between two freight captains who had been drinking too much. They talked about a forbidden sector of space where the newest members of the council lived. The humans. The Deathworlders. Everyone in the galaxy knew about humans, even though most had never seen one. They came from a planet called Terra, a world so dangerous it was classified as Class 12 on the Deathworld scale. Only 3 other planets in known space ranked that high. Humans breathed oxygen in concentrations that would corrode most ship hulls. They survived in temperatures that would freeze or boil other species. Their world had massive predators, terrible storms, and natural disasters that happened regularly. The humans themselves were frightening. They were tall and heavy, built with dense bones and thick muscles. They healed from injuries that would kill other beings. They could run for hours without stopping. They ate meat from dead animals. And worst of all, they were incredibly violent. Human history was filled with wars and conflicts that lasted generations. The Galactic Council had debated for 2 years before allowing humans to join. Even now, 5 years later, most species avoided them. Humans were kept in their own sector, patrolling the dangerous borders where pirates and raiders operated. They were used as guards and soldiers, kept away from normal civilization. Asking humans for help was something no one did. But Vess was out of options. Send a distress beacon toward human space, she said quietly. Her communications officer turned to stare at her. Captain, no. The humans are dying, Vess interrupted. We're dying. Send the signal. The message went out, a simple SOS with their coordinates and situation. Then they waited in the dark, listening to the Krath ships moving through the debris field, searching for them. Every few minutes, an explosion would shake their hiding spot as the Krath destroyed another piece of wreckage. They're making sure nothing survives, her pilot said. They're being thorough. Vess nodded. The Krath would find them eventually. The asteroid they had crashed against provided some cover, but not enough. Maybe an hour, possibly 2. And then the Krath would move their search pattern close enough to detect them. And when that happened, one blast would end everything. Far away in the human patrol sector, Captain Tay sat in the command chair of the destroyer, Iron Wind. His ship was 3 days into a boring 2-week patrol of the border zone. Nothing ever happened out here. Pirates stayed away from human ships, and raiders knew better than to test human weapons. Tay was reviewing supply reports when Lieutenant Hana called out from the tactical station. Captain, we're receiving a distress signal. It's faint, but definitely an SOS. Tay sat up straighter. Source? Velen trading vessel, approximately 4 hours away at maximum jump speed. They report Krath attack, disabled engines, and failing life support. Hana paused. Sir, they're outside our patrol zone, way outside. This is deep neutral space. Tay stood and walked to the navigation display. The coordinates appeared on the screen, and he could see immediately that Hana was right. The distressed ship was far beyond the boundaries where humans were authorized to operate. Council regulations were clear. Humans stayed in their assigned sectors unless specifically ordered otherwise. Do we have any council ships in range? Tay asked. His communications officer, Wu, checked the network. Negative, sir. Closest council patrol is over 2 weeks away. The Velens have 6 hours of life support remaining. Tay stood silent for a long moment. His crew watched him, waiting. They all knew the situation. If he ignored the distress call, 6 beings would die. But if he took the Iron Wind outside their patrol zone without authorization, he could face court-martial. Worse, it could damage humanity's already fragile relationship with the Council. One mistake, one incident, and all the progress humans had made over the past 5 years could vanish. But there was another factor. This was a first contact situation of a different kind. A distressed alien crew had called humans for help. That had never happened before. Every other species in the galaxy saw humans as monsters, necessary monsters perhaps, but monsters nonetheless. They used human ships for protection but never trusted them. Never asked them for anything except to stay away. This Velen captain had been desperate enough to call the Deathworlders. And Tay knew that if he did nothing, if he let those 6 beings die because of regulations and politics, then humans really would be the monsters everyone thought they were. Pilot Jin, calculate jump coordinates to those coordinates, Tay ordered. Engineering, I want maximum speed. We're going in. Sir, Hana said quietly. If we do this, I know, Lieutenant, but those people called us for help. Maybe we're supposed to be the scary monsters of the galaxy, but we're still human. And humans don't leave people to die when we can save them. He turned to face his crew. Battle stations, we jump in 5 minutes. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as 40 crew members prepared the ship for combat. The Iron Wind had been built for one purpose: fighting in situations where other species couldn't survive. Its weapons were overpowered, its armor excessive, its engines pushed physics to the limit. It was a warship designed by a species that knew war intimately. Tay sat back in his command chair and hoped he was making the right choice. In a few hours, they would know if one human captain's decision would change everything, or destroy what little trust humans had managed to build. The jump through space felt different this time. Lieutenant Hana had made hundreds of jumps during her 5 years in the fleet, but this one carried weight. They were breaking the rules, leaving their assigned sector and heading into a combat situation without backup. She ran through combat scenarios on her screen, calculating weapons ranges and shield strengths for Krath battlecruisers. 3 minutes to arrival, Pilot Jin announced from his station. His hands moved across the controls, making tiny adjustments to their approach vector. Dropping in at the edge of the debris field, as planned. Captain Tay stood near the main view screen, arms crossed. Tactical assessment, Hana? 3 Krath battlecruisers, heavy class. They outmass us 3 to 1, and their plasma weapons have longer range than our railguns. Their armor is designed to disperse energy weapons, which makes them tough targets. Hana pulled up more data. But they're slow. Krath ships are built for power, not speed. We have better engines and more maneuverability. And their weakness? Tay asked. Sensors. Krath rely on thermal and electromagnetic detection. Their compound eyes work great on their home world, but in space, they need technology to see. If we can blind them, they're helpless. Tay nodded. Wu, prepare electronic countermeasures. I want enough electromagnetic interference to fog every sensor in that field. From the engineering station, Wu grinned. Captain, I can give you a storm that would make Earth's hurricanes jealous. Hana remembered the first time she had seen another species react to human weather reports. She had been stationed at a council trade hub, trying to build friendships with other junior officers. She made the mistake of showing them a video of a thunderstorm from her home city. The Velen officer had actually fainted. The others backed away, asking in terrified voices if humans really lived through such disasters. That was when Hana understood. Her people had evolved in hell and they didn't even realize it. What humans considered normal weather could kill most species in the galaxy, and that made other beings fear them. 30 seconds, Jin called out. Everyone secure. This might get rough. The iron wind dropped out of jump space into chaos. Debris floated everywhere, pieces of destroyed ships and shattered asteroids creating a deadly obstacle course. 3 massive Krath battlecruisers moved slowly through the field, firing their weapons at anything large enough to hide a ship. Explosions lit up the darkness as they systematically eliminated every hiding spot. There, Hana said, highlighting a section on the main screen. The gentle spiral, wedged between 2 asteroids, barely holding together. Life signs confirmed. 6 beings. All weak. Krath positions? Tay asked calmly. Battlecruiser 1 at 4,000 meters, moving away. Battlecruiser 2 at 6,000 meters, sweeping the far side of the field. Battlecruiser 3 at 8,000 meters, stationary. It looks like their command ship. Tay thought for a moment. Open a channel to the Krath commander. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at him. Wu spoke first. Sir, you want to talk to them? I want to give them a chance to leave, Tay said simply. 1 chance. The communication channel opened. After a few seconds, a harsh clicking voice responded. The translator software turned it into words. Unknown vessel. This is Krath territory. Depart immediately or be destroyed. This is Captain Tay of the human destroyer, Iron Wind. You are attacking a civilian vessel in neutral space. Power down your weapons and withdraw, or we will engage. The response was immediate, clicking sounds that the translator interpreted as laughter. Human? 1 small human ship? We have heard stories of the Deathworlders, but we have never seen you fight. Your reputation is just fear and rumors. 3 Krath battlecruisers will crush you easily. The channel closed. On the tactical display, all 3 Krath ships turned toward the Iron Wind, their weapons powering up. They've made their choice, Tay said. He sat down in his command chair. Wu, activate the countermeasures. Hana, weapons free. Jin, show them what a Deathworlder pilot can do. The battle began instantly. Wu flooded the area with electromagnetic pulses, creating a massive field of interference. On the Krath ships, every sensor went blind at once. They were suddenly flying in darkness, unable to see anything clearly. Jin didn't need sensors. Human ships used multiple redundant systems, including old-fashioned visual targeting. He pushed the Iron Wind forward, diving into the debris field at speeds that would have torn apart most ships. The G-forces pressed everyone back into their seats. For humans, it was uncomfortable. For most other species, it would have been fatal. Battlecruiser 1 fired blindly, plasma bolts shooting in random directions. 1 blast hit an asteroid, vaporizing it instantly. Jin twisted the Iron Wind through the explosion, using the debris cloud as cover. Target locked, Hana said. Her voice was calm, showing none of the excitement that pumped through her veins. Firing. The railguns spoke. Solid metal slugs accelerated to a fraction of light speed, crossing the distance in milliseconds. They hit Battlecruiser 1's port side, punching through the armor that was designed to disperse energy weapons. Kinetic weapons were simple, brutal, and effective. The Krath ship shuddered, atmosphere venting from multiple holes. Battlecruiser 2 tried to retreat, backing away while firing wildly. Jin anticipated the move, bringing the Iron Wind up and over a spinning piece of wreckage. The human ship moved like a fighter craft despite its size, turning and accelerating in ways that ignored conventional physics. How are they moving like that? The intercepted Krath communication came through, confusion evident even through the translation. Ships that size can't maneuver like that, but human ships could. They were built by beings who had conquered the most dangerous planet in their region of space. Over-engineered wasn't a criticism in human design, it was a requirement. Every system had backups. Every component could survive forces that would destroy normal equipment. Hana fired again, this time at Battlecruiser 2. The shots hit the engine section, and the massive ship began to spin slowly, control systems failing. Battlecruiser 3, the command ship, finally reacted intelligently. It launched a spread of missiles, dozens of them, coming from all directions. Jin saw them coming and started evasive maneuvers, but there were too many. "Point defense," Tay ordered. Automated systems activated. Small guns on the Iron Wind's hull tracked and destroyed missiles with frightening accuracy. Explosions bloomed across the battlefield, but none of the missiles reached their target. The Krath commander had probably never encountered point defense systems this effective. "Enough of this," Tay said. "Hana, disable their command ship. Main guns, targeting their bridge section." "Sir, that will kill everyone on the bridge," Hana warned. "Then they should have accepted our offer to withdraw," Tay replied. His voice carried no anger, just cold certainty. "Fire." The heaviest weapons on the Iron Wind fired in sequence. The Krath command ship's shields collapsed under the assault. The final shot hit exactly where Hana had aimed, tearing through the bridge section. The massive ship went dark, emergency systems failing. The third battlecruiser, seeing both companions disabled and their command ship destroyed, made a decision. Its engines flared bright as it turned and accelerated away at maximum speed. "Let them go," Tay ordered. "We're not here to hunt. We're here to rescue." The entire battle had lasted 18 minutes. The bridge crew sat in silence for a moment, processing what had just happened. They had faced 3 battlecruisers, ships that each outmassed them significantly, and won decisively. "All Krath vessels disabled or fleeing," Hana reported. "Area secure." "Life signs on the gentle spiral?" Tay asked. "Still registering 6 beings, all alive. But their life support is critical. Maybe 30 minutes remaining." Tay stood. "Then we need to move fast. Jin, bring us alongside. Wu, get engineering ready for rescue operations. Hana, prepare medical bay for alien physiology." He tapped his communication badge. "Day, Su, meet me in the airlock. We have people to save." As the Iron Wind moved carefully through the debris toward the damaged Velen ship, Hana pulled up the files on Velen physiology. They needed temperatures that would cook a human alive, breathed an atmosphere that humans would consider poisonous, and were so fragile that a strong handshake could break their bones. The hard part wasn't over. They had won the battle. Now they had to win the trust of beings who had been taught to fear them their entire lives. Corporal Day checked his environment suit one more time. The readings on his display made him shake his head. The gentle spiral was filled with an atmosphere that would poison him in seconds, and the temperature inside was hot enough to cook food. This was going to be uncomfortable. Beside him, Medic Sue finished loading her equipment pack. She had prepared emergency medical supplies for Velen physiology, but the truth was that humans knew very little about Velen medicine. They would have to be careful and hope that basic first aid principles applied across species. "Ready?" Day asked. Sue nodded. "Let's go save some lives." They entered the airlock with Captain Tay, who was coordinating the operation. Through the thick window, they could see the gentle spiral pressed against the larger hull of the Iron Wind. The Velen ship looked fragile, its hull cracked and broken in multiple places. "Listen carefully," Tay said. "These people are terrified. They've probably never seen a human in person before. They called us because they were dying, not because they trust us. Every movement you make needs to be slow and gentle. Speak softly. Don't make sudden moves, understand?" "Yes, sir," they both replied. "Good. You have 40 minutes before heat exhaustion becomes dangerous, even with the suits. Get in, stabilize the crew, and get them back to our medical bay. I'll have everything ready for them." The airlock sealed behind them. Day fired up the cutting torch and began working on the gentle spiral's hull. The metal peeled away slowly, revealing the dark interior of the alien ship. Emergency lights flickered weakly, giving everything a red tint. They moved through the breach carefully. The ship's interior was designed for beings much smaller than humans. Day had to duck constantly to avoid hitting his head. Sue followed close behind, her scanner active, searching for life signs. This way, Sue said, pointing down a corridor. I'm reading 6 signatures, all together in one compartment. Probably their emergency shelter. They made their way through the damaged ship. It was strange seeing alien design up close. Everything was smooth and curved, with no sharp edges. Controls were marked in a language neither of them could read. Pictures on the walls showed beautiful landscapes from the Velen homeworld. Gentle hills, warm oceans, and skies filled with soft clouds. Found them, Day said, stopping at a sealed door. The emergency shelter. It's still pressurized, which is good. Can you open it without depressurizing the room? Sue asked. I think so. Give me a minute. Day worked on the door mechanism, carefully cutting through the lock without damaging the seal. It took precious minutes, but finally the door slid open. Heat rolled out like a wave, and even through his suit, Day felt the temperature spike. The 6 Velens were huddled in the corner of the small room. Their transparent skin showed their crystalline internal structures, and Day could see their hearts beating rapidly. Fear. They were absolutely terrified. Captain Vess was in front, trying to protect her crew even though she was barely conscious. When she saw Day's armored form filling the doorway, her eyes went wide. She tried to say something, but no sound came out. We're here to help, Day said softly, his voice transmitted through external speakers on his suit. We're from the Iron Wind. We received your distress call. The translator on his suit converted his words to Velen language. But the crew didn't seem to hear him. They just stared, frozen in terror. Sue moved forward slowly, holding up her medical scanner so they could see it. We're medics. We want to help you. Can you understand me? One of the younger Velens pointed at Sue and said something in a trembling voice. The translator picked it up. Deathworlders. They're really here. They're going to kill us. No, Sue said firmly but gently. We're not going to hurt you. You sent a distress signal and we came to rescue you. We fought off the Krath ships. You're safe now. Captain Vess tried to stand but collapsed. Day moved forward instinctively to catch her, and that was a mistake. His large armored hand reached out and the Velens screamed. The sound was high-pitched and painful, even through his suit speakers. Day froze, holding his hands up. I'm sorry. I won't hurt you. Vess lay on the floor, staring up at him. Through her transparent skin, Day could see her heart racing so fast it looked like it might burst. She was going to have a heart attack from fear alone. Sue knelt down slowly, several feet away from Vess. Captain, listen to me. I know you're scared. I know we look frightening to you. But we trained for this. We learned about your species. We know how to help you. But we need to move fast because your life support is failing. Do you understand? Vess nodded weakly. She managed to whisper, You came. Everyone said humans wouldn't help. They said you were monsters who only fought and killed. We fight when we have to, Sue said. But we also save lives. That's what we're here to do. Will you let us help you? There was a long moment of silence. Finally, Vess nodded again. She turned to her crew and spoke quickly in Velen. The translator caught most of it. Trust them. We have no choice. They destroyed the Krath to save us. Let them help. The next 30 minutes were the most delicate work Day had ever done. He was a soldier, trained to break things and fight battles. But now he had to carefully lift fragile beings whose bones could break from too much pressure. Each Velen weighed almost nothing to him, light as a child. He carried them one by one back through the damaged ship, moving slowly, speaking softly, trying desperately not to terrify them more than they already were. Sue monitored their vital signs constantly, adjusting their emergency oxygen masks, checking for injuries. 2 of the Velens had minor fractures from the crash. 1 was suffering from toxic gas exposure. All of them were dehydrated and exhausted. By the time they got the last crew member back to the Iron Wind, Day's suit was reading dangerous temperature levels. He was cooking inside his armor, sweat pouring down his face. But they had done it. 6 beings saved, all alive. The medical bay had been completely reconfigured. Tay had ordered the temperature raised to Velen comfort levels, the lights dimmed, and the atmosphere adjusted. When Day carried Captain Vess into the room, he gently placed her on a medical bed that had been specially prepared. Human Medical Officer Lee was waiting. He had spent the entire battle reading everything available about Velen physiology. Now he moved around the alien crew members with practiced efficiency, attaching monitoring equipment, administering fluids, checking injuries. "They're going to be okay," Lee announced after several minutes. "Dehydrated, exhausted, scared out of their minds, but they'll survive." Day finally removed his helmet, breathing cool air gratefully. He looked at the 6 Velens lying on medical beds, surrounded by human medical equipment in a human ship being cared for by humans. It was surreal. Captain Vess opened her eyes and looked directly at him. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Human and Velen. Deathworlder and peaceful trader. Predator and prey, by galactic standards. Then Vess did something unexpected. She smiled weakly and whispered, "Thank you." Sue, still in her suit, moved closer. "You're welcome. Now rest. You're safe here." "But why?" Vess asked. "Why did you risk everything for strangers? For beings who fear you?" Day thought about all the times other species had avoided humans at stations. The way they would leave rooms when humans entered, the fear and disgust in their eyes. And he thought about how it felt to finally have someone ask humans for help instead of pushing them away. "Because you asked," Day said simply. "That's enough." Tay's voice came over the intercom. "Good work, everyone. Day, Sue, get to decontamination and medical. Lee, monitor our guests closely. Hana, set course for the nearest council station. Let's get these people home." The Iron Wind turned away from the debris field, leaving behind the disabled Krath ships. Inside the medical bay, 6 Velens slowly realized they were really safe. And on the bridge, Captain Tay sat down heavily in his chair, wondering if he had just changed everything, or if he had just made the biggest mistake of his career. Only time would tell. The journey back to Council space took 3 days. During that time, something remarkable happened aboard the Iron Wind. 2 species who had been taught to fear each other began to understand one another. On the second day, Engineer Wu found Velen engineer Kess standing in the corridor outside the medical bay. The small alien was staring at a wall panel with obvious fascination. "Can I help you?" Wu asked, keeping his voice gentle. Kess jumped slightly, then turned. Through his transparent skin, Wu could see his heart rate increase, but the Velen didn't run away. That was progress. "I was looking at your power systems," Kess said quietly. "The readouts are visible through this panel. I hope that's not a security violation." "Not at all," Wu said. He moved closer, slowly, and opened the panel fully. "Want a tour? I'm proud of our engineering." Kess hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, please. I've never seen human technology up close." They walked through the engineering sections together. Wu explained each system, and Kess asked increasingly detailed questions. The Velen's fear seemed to fade as his curiosity grew. "Everything is so strong," Kess finally said. "Your power conduits could handle 10 times the load they're carrying. Your hull plating is thick enough to stop weapons that would never be used on a ship this size. Your backup systems have backup systems." Wu laughed. "That's how humans build. We come from a world that's constantly trying to kill us. Our engineering reflects that. We overbuild everything because we assume things will fail." "Your home world is really that dangerous?" Kess asked. "Let me show you." Wu pulled out his personal tablet and brought up images of Earth. "This is where I grew up, a city called Busan, on the coast." Kess looked at the pictures and went very still. Those waves. They're huge. They would destroy our ships." "That's just the ocean on a normal day," Wu said. "We swim in it for fun." He scrolled through more pictures. Thunderstorms with lightning that could vaporize metal. Hurricanes that flattened entire cities. Earthquakes that cracked the ground open. Volcanoes that covered the sky with ash. And through it all, humans. Living, working, even playing in conditions that would kill most galactic species in minutes. "How do you survive?" Kess whispered. "We adapt. We build. We learn. Wu smiled. And yeah, it makes us seem like monsters to everyone else. But that same strength that lets us survive storms also lets us pull people from burning buildings. The endurance that lets us run from predators also lets us carry injured friends to safety. Everything that makes us dangerous also makes us good at protecting others. Kess was quiet for a long moment. I understand now why your ship is built the way it is. You're not being excessive. You're just building the way you know how. Exactly, Wu said. Want to see the engine room? Meanwhile, in the ship's common area, Pilot Jin was sharing food with several of the Velen crew. The aliens couldn't eat human food, but Jin had replicated some Velen nutrition packs from the patterns in their medical database. This tastes like home, one of the younger Velens said softly. Thank you. You're welcome, Jin said. He was eating a simple meal of rice and vegetables, nothing fancy. But the Velens watched with fascination. You really eat solid food? Another Velen asked. Food that was alive? Jin nodded. Most of what humans eat comes from plants or animals, yes. Is that strange to you? We consume nutrient solutions, the Velen explained. They're manufactured from basic chemicals. The idea of eating something that was alive is disturbing, Jin guessed. Different, the Velen said diplomatically. Jin pulled out his tablet, the same way Wu had. Let me show you Earth. Maybe it will help you understand humans better. He showed them pictures of farms, with vast fields of crops growing under the sun. Orchards filled with fruit trees, rivers filled with fish. The Velens looked shocked. Your world is so alive, one of them said. So much life everywhere. That's what a death world means, Jin explained. It's not that nothing can live there. It's that life is so competitive and aggressive that everything evolves to be tough. Earth is covered with life, but all that life is fighting to survive constantly. Plants fight for sunlight. Animals hunt each other. Diseases evolve to attack immune systems. It's a planet where you adapt or die. And humans came from that, Velen said slowly. You evolved to survive all of that. We did, Jin said. And yeah, it made us strong. But it also taught us about cooperation. Humans survived not just because we're tough individually, but because we work together. We protect our groups, we help each other. A lone human might survive a death world, but a group of humans working together can thrive. In the medical bay, Captain Vess was finally strong enough to sit up and talk with Captain Tay. The human captain had visited several times over the past 2 days, always respectful, always careful not to crowd her or make sudden moves. How are you feeling? Tay asked, sitting in a chair that had been sized for humans but looked enormous next to Vess's medical bed. Better, Vess said. Your medical officer is very skilled. He treated us with such care. She paused. I owe you an apology, Captain. For what? For believing the rumors, for thinking humans were monsters. I sent that distress signal because I was desperate and dying, not because I believed you would actually help. I thought if you came at all, you might just destroy everyone, Krath and Velens alike. Tay smiled sadly. That's what most species think. We're only called when someone needs violence, never when they need help or friendship or just someone to talk to. We're tools, not people, in the eyes of most of the galaxy. That's wrong, Vess said firmly. I've spent 2 days on your ship. I've watched your crew. They're professional, kind, and incredibly gentle with us despite being so much larger and stronger. Your medic Sue checked on us every hour. Your engineer Wu spent 3 hours explaining your engines to Kess, just because Kess was curious. Your pilot Jin shared pictures of his family and home with my crew. We're trying, Tay said. We've been trying for 5 years to show the galaxy we're more than just weapons. But it's hard when no one gives us a chance. Vess reached out slowly and touched Tay's hand. The human's skin was warm and dry, so different from her own crystalline structure. But there was no danger in the contact, no threat, just two beings making a connection. I'm going to change that, Vess said. When we get back to Council Space, I'm going to tell everyone what really happened here. Not just that you saved us, but how you saved us. With kindness and care. by risking your career and your species' reputation for strangers who had never shown you anything but fear. That might not change anything, Tay warned. It will change something, Vess insisted, because I'm not the only one who will hear the truth. My crew will tell their families. Those families will tell others. Stories spread, Captain. And the story of how the Deathworlders came to save us, asked nothing in return and treated us with such gentleness, that's a story the galaxy needs to hear. Over the next day, as they approached Council Space, the crew of the Iron Wind and the survivors from the Gentle Spiral spent more time together. Language barriers fell away. Fear turned to curiosity, then to respect. They showed each other pictures of their home worlds, explained their customs, shared stories and jokes. By the time the Council Station appeared on their sensors, something had changed. The Velans no longer flinched when humans entered a room. They smiled and waved. They asked questions and listened to the answers. And the humans, who had spent 5 years being avoided and feared, finally felt like they were being seen as people instead of monsters. Approaching Council Station, Jin announced from the pilot station. They're hailing us. Open the channel, Tay ordered. The station commander appeared on screen, a multi-armed Quellan who looked confused. Human vessel, Iron Wind. You are outside your authorized patrol zone. Explain your presence. Before Tay could respond, Captain Vess's voice came through. She had insisted on coming to the bridge, despite being weak. Commander, this is Captain Vess of the Gentle Spiral. The humans are here because they saved my crew from Krath attackers. They responded to our distress call when no one else could. They deserve recognition, not censure. The station commander's expression changed. Captain Vess, we received word that your ship was missing. You're alive? Thanks to the humans, Vess said. I have a full report to file. And a message to send to the entire council. The galaxy needs to know what humans really are. The Iron Wind docked at the council station expecting punishment. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by ships. Dozens of them, from multiple species, all waiting to see the human vessel that had crossed half the sector to save Velan traders. Captain Tay stood on the docking platform and felt uncomfortable. Hundreds of aliens watched from observation decks. News drones flew everywhere, recording everything. This was not the quiet return he had hoped for. Captain Tay, a voice called out. A Quellan council member approached, her multiple arms moving in a gesture Tay had learned meant respect. I am Council Member Ress. We need to speak immediately. Am I being arrested? Tay asked bluntly. No, Ress said, and Tay heard something like amusement in her translated voice. You're being celebrated. Come, the council is waiting. Inside the station, Tay discovered that Captain Vess had been busy. While still recovering in the Iron Wind's medical bay, she had recorded a detailed message about the rescue. She described the Krath attack, the desperate decision to call humans, and everything that followed. But more importantly, she described how the humans treated her crew. The message was playing on every screen in the station. Tay watched himself on video, speaking calmly to his crew before the battle. He saw Day and Sue carefully carrying Velans from the damaged ship, moving slowly and gently despite the dangerous conditions. He saw his crew sharing food and stories with the Velan survivors, building bridges between species that had never really talked before. This message has been transmitted across the entire communications network, Ress explained. Billions of beings have watched it. The response has been significant. Significant how? Tay asked. Ress led him to a communications center. The screens showed hundreds of incoming messages. Trade delegations requesting meetings with human representatives. Defense contracts being offered. Species asking for joint training programs. And most surprisingly, personal messages from individuals thanking humans for showing them that Deathworlders could be heroes, not just weapons. The galaxy is reevaluating its opinion of humanity, Ress said, very quickly. In the council chambers, Tay found himself standing before the full assembly. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the massive room. Once, this gathering had debated whether to allow humans to join at all. Now, they were debating something very different. The question before us, the council speaker announced, is whether to grant humanity emergency response authorization. This would allow human vessels to cross any border, enter any space when responding to distress signals. It would make them the galaxy's official rapid response force. Arguments went back and forth. Some species were still nervous about giving humans that much freedom. But then Captain Vess spoke. She was still weak, but her voice carried through the chamber clearly. I called the humans because I was dying and had no choice. They came because someone needed help. They didn't ask for payment. They didn't demand concessions. They risked everything for strangers who had never shown them kindness. Vess paused. If we don't grant them this authorization, if we don't acknowledge what they did, then we're telling the galaxy that doing the right thing doesn't matter, that politics is more important than lives. Is that who we are? The vote wasn't even close. Humanity was granted emergency response authorization by an overwhelming margin. The Deathworlders were now officially the galaxy's protectors. 1 month later, the Iron Wind arrived at a construction site in deep space. Captain Tay stood on the bridge, watching as the new rapid response station took shape. It was massive, designed to house ships from multiple species and coordinate rescue operations across the sector. It's really happening, Lieutenant Hana said from her station. She had been promoted after the rescue, now serving as Tay's second-in-command. A joint species station with humans at the center. Not just at the center, Tay corrected. Working with others, that's the important part. The crew of the Iron Wind had expanded. They now included beings from 6 different species, all volunteers who wanted to learn from the humans. There was a young Velen named Kess, who had joined as an engineering trainee. A Quellan pilot who was learning human flight techniques. A Drenni medical officer studying human emergency response protocols. And every day, more applications arrived. Species that had once avoided humans were now asking to work with them. Captain, Communications Officer Wu called out. We're receiving another distress signal. Civilian transport, engine failure. 3 days from the nearest station. Tay smiled. Plot an intercept course. Let's see how fast our new mixed crew can respond. The bridge erupted into controlled activity. But now, human voices mixed with Velen, Quellan, and others. They worked together, each species contributing their strengths, covering each other's weaknesses. 20 minutes later, the Iron Wind jumped toward the distressed ship. In the crew quarters, humans explained procedures to their alien colleagues. In the medical bay, human and non-human medics prepared for casualties. In engineering, Wu and Kess worked side by side, making sure every system was perfect. On the observation deck, Pilot Jin found Captain Vess looking out at the stars. She had recovered fully and was now serving as an advisor to the Rapid Response Program, helping train other species on how to work with humans. Thinking about that day? Jin asked. Always, Vess said. The day I learned that the monsters weren't monsters at all. Just people trying to do the right thing. We're still learning how to fit in, Jin admitted. It's not easy being the scary ones. You're not scary anymore, Vess said. Well, not to those of us who know you. To everyone else. She smiled. Let them stay a little scared. It makes the pirates and raiders think twice before causing trouble. The Iron Wind dropped out of jump space near the disabled transport. The rescue was routine, efficient, and gentle. The transport crew, a group of Drenni merchants, were initially terrified to see a human warship. But by the time they were safely aboard and their ship was being towed, they were asking questions about joining the Rapid Response Program. That night, as the Iron Wind continued its patrol, Captain Tay sat in his quarters and wrote a report. But this one wasn't for the Council or for military command. This one was personal, addressed to his family back on Earth. We did it, he wrote. We showed them who we really are. Not by trying to seem less dangerous, not by hiding our nature, but by using our strength to protect instead of threaten. By being exactly who we are, and using that to help others. He described the new station, the mixed crews, the constant stream of distress calls that they now responded to. He talked about how other species were starting to understand that being from a death world didn't make humans evil. It made them capable, strong enough to help when help was needed, tough enough to go where others couldn't, and most importantly, compassionate enough to care about saving lives, even lives very different from their own. The galaxy still has species that fear us, Tay continued, but now they also have species that call us when they need help, that ask us to train their rescue crews, that want to learn from us. We're not accepted everywhere yet, but we're getting there, one rescue at a time. On the bridge, an alert chimed. Another distress signal, this time from a research station studying a dangerous nebula. Lieutenant Hana checked the details and smiled. 6 months ago, humans wouldn't have been called. The station would have tried to handle it themselves or waited for a council ship, even if that meant waiting too long. But now, they called humans first, because they knew humans would come. They knew humans would risk everything to save them. And they knew that despite coming from a world of violence and danger, humans had learned the most important lesson. Strength means nothing if you don't use it to protect others. The Iron Wind changed course toward the research station. In the crew quarters, humans and aliens prepared together. In the common areas, they shared jokes and stories. In the medical bay, mixed teams prepared for any possibility. They were no longer the isolated Deathworlders, feared and avoided. They were the rapid response fleet, the ones you called when everything went wrong. The ones who would cross any distance, face any danger, to answer a simple SOS. Because that's what humans did. They answered the call. Captain Tay walked onto the bridge and looked at his mixed crew. Human, Velen, Quellen, Drenny, all working together, all trusting each other, all ready to risk everything for people they had never met. Status report, he ordered. Jump calculated, Jin reported. 2 hours to the research station at maximum speed. Life support? Tay asked. Prepared for multiple species, Sue confirmed from medical. Ready for anything. All systems optimal, Wu added from engineering. We're ready, Captain. Tay sat in his command chair and felt something he hadn't felt in the 5 years since humans joined the council. He felt like they belonged, like they had finally found their place in the galaxy. Then let's go save some people, Tay said. All ahead, full. The Iron Wind jumped into the darkness, carrying a crew of Deathworlders and their friends, racing toward another emergency. Another chance to prove that the most dangerous beings in the galaxy could also be its greatest heroes. Behind them, the new rapid response station continued to grow. Soon, there would be more ships, more mixed crews, more species learning to work together. The galaxy was changing, slowly but surely. And it all started with one distressed Velen captain who made the desperate choice to call the Deathworlders. One human captain who chose to answer. And one battle that proved strength and compassion weren't opposites, but partners. The SOS that summoned the Deathworlder fleet had done more than save 6 lives. It had changed the galaxy forever.